I like language, if you haven't figured that out already. EQ adjectives. I find one thing that is a constant is that we refer to sounds in different ways. And what sounds, what is one adjective to somebody else may mean something different to someone. So these are the ones that I've encountered sort of constants along the way. Starting in the middle, speaking about life-changing frequencies. The frequency range that I first noticed, I was about 15. I was working in a recording studio, a recording and rehearsal studio, and my job, aside from vacuuming and getting coffee, was learning how to ring out the room, the PA systems in the rooms when the bands would come in to rehearse. And I noticed that every time I would push up the area 600 or 700 hertz, it would resemble one of the guys that worked in the studio.
And he would talk like this, and he would say, dude, you're killing me. What are you doing? You're taking too long. Dude, it's hurting my, oh, come on, dude, it's hurting my ears. Let's go. And every time I pushed up 600 hertz, everything would come out sounding like this. So I've referred to it ever since as the Russell frequency. Below that, a remark I slightly resemble, tubby, 200 around or so. Cut that stuff out of there. It tightens everything up. It makes everything more focused sounding. It's, as opposed to being tubby or boxy or cardboardy sounding. Cardboard sound was one I got from Eddie Van Halen. Above that, we talked about this a lot in my prose, the intelligibility range. And I think it's 800 to 2K, respectively. That's the intelligibility range. A lot of speaker manufacturers use that, QSC in particular. They refer to the intelligibility range as increased off-axis response. So with point source boxes, as opposed to line arrays, you can be in church, where the message is really important. Can you tell I was a sales guy for a while? That was my pitch when selling speakers to, Yes, where the message is really important. Being off-axis, or having a speaker's dispersion calculated as to its off-axis response, you can be slightly off-axis and still maximize the intelligibility range. So even though you're missing a lot of high-frequency content by the directionality of high-frequency content, they increase using radial, conical, and coaxial high-frequency drivers. They increase the off-axis response in the intelligibility range. So if you hear that, roughly 800 to 3K, respectively. Presence, if you're a guitar player or a bass player, you've seen that on many a British-style amp. That's generally the frequency range. It's not quite treble. It's a little above treble. Some people would call that upper mid-range. 3 to 5K. Presence also really important on things like lavaliers. They tend to be really nasty, downright offensive. Can you tell I don't like lavalier microphones? Really offensive in that 4K range. There's a lot of energy in the 4K range. I don't know if it's because of like air displacement or because that's still within the range we hear really well. There's a lot of energy in 4K. It kind of gets stuck and rattles around your head for a while. So you can watch out for that. But presence, guitar amps, acoustic instruments, drums especially, a lot of attack at 4K. Sibilance, 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 sibilance. Yes, it's different for men and women. Most of you guys, especially studio guys, know that. People with squeaky teeth. So if you're trying to process something or you have a system in a room with brick walls or concrete or a lot of glass and there's a high frequency bouncing around everywhere, but you don't want to take it out of the whole system because the music playback sounds great. I just need to take it out of these microphones because there's S's going right out. You can hear them in the Bronx. Focus in on that range. 6, 7, 8K on women, the air on the lower side, 5, 6K on guys. So yeah, so we talked about what we hear, we talked about how we hear it. Well, what do we do about it? Learn, and I'm still learning, and I started this audio journey when I was 15. Learn the audio needs of your desired discipline. If you're gonna be a studio guy, well, R&B mixing requires a totally different skill set and technique than mixing rock or classical. Classical mic placement, different stereo and coincident mic techniques. If you're a live guy, expose yourself to every kind of audio situation that you might need. If you're a theater guy, same thing. Sharpen your chops. Now, this is another one. Not everybody has access to gear. Oh, you could say, okay, Artie, yeah, I want to do that, but yeah, I can't afford this, or I don't have my own mixer, or I don't. Doesn't mean you can't learn how to use one anyway.
If you have a Mac, you have so much access to audio processing, it's unprecedented. At no other time in the audio industry was audio processing as accessible as it is now. Between Audacity, Reaper, Shareware, all the stuff in GarageBand. Yeah, it's not glamorous, but it sounds really good. There's also, in addition to free software, it's like, okay, well, I need to be in front of people to learn how to do this, right? No. In fact, if you're just doing it for the first time, chances are you really don't want to do it in front of people. So you can practice on a virtual band or a virtual source. In the live space, like we said before, you may be showing up on a console you never used before. But that doesn't mean you don't have a chance to use the console offline. This is the X32 app that we're looking at. It's not going to teach you where stuff is on the form factor. But at least you can understand the routing. You can surf your menus. You can navigate. All the major consoles have generally iPad access or some kind of network editor that you can download for free. Alan Heath has the Q something. The CL editor from Yamaha, super important. Most important thing for me, turn the knob until it sounds good. So if you don't take anything else with you, just keep turning the knob until you discover that sound that you hear in your head. So thank you very much for indulging me. Thank you for sweating out to the oldies at Pirate University. And thanks again.
All right. How did you like Artie's presentation? Guy knows a little bit about audio, huh? Maybe.